Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Gerard. I'm a student loan consultant working for the American Dental Education Association, ADEA, and we'd like to welcome you to the 2013 ADEA Online Career Fair for dental students and to this session on repayment strategies for dental school graduates. We're delighted that you have an interest in this, and we look forward to working with you as we talk about how to craft together a repayment strategy for your student loans. As we go through this workshop, some considerations or things just to remember. First of all, more than a few of you are going to be entering the income stream faster than some of your colleagues from some of the other health sciences disciplines, and this may put you in a position to aggressively repay your loans quicker. And by the way, if you've not heard this, dental school graduates have a terrific reputation for responsible repayment and for paying loans on time. So the gauntlet's been laid down and the bar's been set high, and we certainly hope that this information will help you continue that great reputation for dental school graduates paying their loans on time. You're also going to hear, if you've not already, that there are multiple options for paying back your student loans, especially your federal student loans, and there are also options including service commitment programs and loan forgiveness programs. And as we walk through different repayment options, a reminder that there is never a penalty for paying a federal loan early, and some of you are going to be in a position to do just that. Now, we're going to take a very common sense approach to helping you craft together a repayment strategy for your student loans, and we're going to look at 4 different things. First of all, and all this again is really common sense, know what you borrowed, know who has your loans. In other words, know who is servicing the loans, and a number of you have already received notices about changes in the loan servicing. So know what you borrowed, know who's got the loans, and certainly know when the loans are coming due. For the majority of you, they'll be coming due about 6 months after you graduate. Number 2, identify your own repayment objectives, and they are very personal. We're going to look at these in detail, but the repayment objectives that you have may be completely different than some of your colleagues. We're then going to look at the various repayment options available to you to help you meet your repayment objectives. And we're going to look at options in practice, and we're also going to talk about what to do or some options for you if you happen to do postdoctoral work, whether that's a residency program where you're an employee and get a stipend, or whether you're involved in a school-based postdoctoral program where you're actually enrolled and perhaps pay tuition. And then you're going to hear me say time and again to learn from your colleagues. Hopefully, you'll get information from the financial aid professionals at your school and ADEA and with this workshop to help you know how your loans actually work, but we would encourage you to talk with your colleagues who've gone before you and find out from them what did they do right in terms of the management of their student loans, and are there some things that they wish they'd done a bit different. So always learn from your colleagues and ask questions about that. So let's get started first out of the gate, taking a look at your student loans, what you borrowed, who's got them, and when they're coming due. Now, some terminology that hopefully you are already familiar with. Be sure you understand the difference between what's called a direct loan and what is called a FFEL loan. Folks, all direct loans are Federal Stafford, Grad Plus, and Consolidation loans, and many of you have Stafford and Grad Plus. Federal direct loans are loans where the Stafford or Grad Plus or Consolidation loan came straight from the feds, and your lender is actually the Department of Education. They act as the lender on behalf of the federal government. You signed a master promissory note for these loans. And you may already know this, but starting in the 2010-2011 year, which for many of you would have been your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year of dental school, all the loans were made through the direct loan program. So starting in 2010 and 11, all Stafford and Grad Plus came through the direct loan program. So you probably have at least 3 years worth of direct loans. The Federal Family Education Loan Program, or FFEL, those are simply Federal Stafford Grad Plus loans. And for those of you who've been around a while and might have had a consolidation loan prior to July 1 of 2006, the Federal Family Education Loan Program, these are federal loans that came from a private or commercial lender. Now, guys, these are not private loans. We're going to talk about private loans in a minute. I'm talking about Stafford or Grad Plus or Consolidation loans that would have come from organizations like Chase or Citibank, Sallie Mae, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, etc. very important to know, if you have or had in the past any FFEL loans that were sold to the Department of Education, and you would have gotten a notice about that, very important to know that that does not convert them into direct loans. So the fact that the Department of Ed bought those loans does not convert them into the direct loan program. The reason that is very important to know is that when we talk about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, only loans taken out in the direct loan program qualify for public service loan forgiveness. So once again, be sure you know the distinction between direct loans and Stafford and Grad Plus and consolidation loans taken out in the FFEL program. And when you look at your student loan portfolio, what you've borrowed, the majority of the borrowing for dental school students is in the Stafford program, both subsidized and unsubsidized programs, and of course all the borrowing now is unsub-Stafford. All those new loans in Stafford are unsub. But Federal Stafford and Grad Plus. Now some of you may have what are called campus-based loans, and these are loans such as Federal Perkins, Health Profession student loans, loans for disadvantaged students, and some of you may have attended schools where your school actually had their own loan program. We call these loans campus-based because they were awarded by the school. And then federal consolidation, some of you will end up consolidating your loans later. Some of you who've been around a while, again, may have already consolidated prior to July 1, 2006. And then some of you may have private loans, including what are called R&R, or residency and relocation loans. So a lot of different loans that you could have in your student loan portfolio. The majority of you have your borrowing in the Federal Stafford and Federal Grad Plus. And notice there's an asterisk beside Stafford, Grad Plus, Federal Perkins, and Federal Consolidation loans. And that's because those loans will be referenced on a website called the National Student Loan Data System, or NSLDS. If you're looking for one place to see all of your federal borrowing from Stafford, Grad Plus, Perkins if you had it, and consolidation loans if you either have them or are considering consolidating, this is the place to go, nslds.ed.gov. This is a federal database of all those loans, and it's a cumulative running total regardless of when you had the loan, where you were enrolled, what your status is in terms of repayment, how much you owe. These loans will be reflected on NSLDS. So, folks, this is a great place to see all that borrowing in one place. It's also a great place where you can get information on your loan servicers. Hopefully you're already familiar with this site, but if you're not, when you log in, you'll go to a financial aid summary page, which will list all these Stafford, Grad Plus, Perkins, and consolidation loans that you've had. And if you click on the number to the left of each loan, you'll get what I call a back page that lists additional information on that loan, and you'll see who the loan servicer is for your loan. Now, loan servicers are subject to change. Your loans can move from servicer to servicer, but if you're trying to figure out who's got your loans, the NSLDS site should be able to help you. Also, while ADEA is not, and I'm certainly not promoting that you consolidate your loans, we're going to talk about consolidation briefly here in a few minutes. If you do decide to consolidate your loans, the NSLDS site may help you complete the direct consolidation loan application. And in fact, there is a new feature on the online direct consolidation loan application where you can pre-populate the application with information from NSLDS. So if you're not familiar with NSLDS, we encourage you to take a look at it. And again, as step number one in determining a repayment strategy, trying to figure out where all your loans are, the NSLDS site is a great place to go to get information on Stafford, Grad Plus, Perkins, and any consolidation loans you may already have. Now, some of you have private loans in your student loan portfolio, and I want to make a few comments about those. Private loans can easily derail a repayment strategy, especially one that is really targeted on how to repay your federal loans, Stafford and Grad Plus, and consolidation if you do that. Some of you who are participating in this workshop have private loans from undergraduate or post-baccalaureate programs. If that is the case, pay special attention to those, because the general rule of thumb, and guys, there are always exceptions, but the general rule of thumb is that while your loan provider may have let you postpone or defer your payments in dental school for these loans, private loans from undergrad or post-bac, when you graduate from dental school, there are usually minimal, if any, kind of postponement options available for you if you move into a residency or postdoctoral program, whether that's a school-based program or whether that, again, is a program where you actually are a paid resident and receive a stipend. So if you've got private loans for undergrad or post-bac, we would really encourage you to find out the terms and conditions of those loans, and you should be expecting those loans to come due pretty soon after you graduate from dental school. Also, there's no national database. There's no equivalent to NSLDS for private loans. So if you're really not sure if you have any private loans, I would encourage you, check your records. You should have gotten a disclosure statement and should have copies of disclosure statements. This is where your loan provider lets you know how much your payments are going to be and when you're going to enter repayment. Check your records to see if you have those, and if you can't find those, talk to the financial aid office at the school where you got those private loans. They may be able to help. If you still come up empty and you're still trying to figure out, do you have private loans, not federal, but private, you can check your credit report and they should be listed there as well. So very important that you find out all the terms and conditions of private loans and that you use that to help you craft together your repayment strategy. Now, the second thing in our common sense approach, after you've figured out what you borrowed and who's got your loans and when they're coming due, the second thing to do is identify your own repayment objectives. And again, they're going to vary from student to student. This is just a list of some of them that, frankly, I've come up with in the work that I do with recent graduates. Some of you are going to be in a position where you want to protect your income and maximize your cash flow, and this could be because you have other kind of obligations such as consumer debt or family obligations that you need to meet, or maybe you've got a car payment or you're trying to finance a mortgage and you need the lowest conceivable payment possible, or maybe you need to even postpone your payments. And if that's the case, then you're going to be looking at something like a deferment or forbearance or perhaps an income-related plan. Some of you will be in the camp of wanting to get after your loans as quickly as possible and trying to limit the damage of interest accrual and capitalization. And if that's the case, you're probably going to want to get into a repayment plan, not only that you can afford the payments, but perhaps a plan where you can overpay and pay the loan down as quickly as possible. Some of you may be in a camp where your repayment objective is to get some help with your student loans in exchange for a service program like the National Health Service Corps or the new Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. But by and large, regardless of whether you're going to try to postpone payments or minimize these, your loan payments, or try to get after it, the majority of you are likely going to want the convenience and simplification of just having one loan provider. And so if you have multiple loans with multiple loan servicers, you may be a candidate for consolidating your student loans. ADEA has some additional information on consolidation, as does your financial aid office at your dental school. So those are some of the different repayment objectives that you need to look at. And a reminder, review them every year, at least every year, because these can change from year to year based on your job and how much you're earning and other obligations you come up with and family size, etc. So number one, figure out what you borrowed. Number two, take a look at your repayment objectives. And number three, let's take a quick look at some of the repayment options that are available to you during practice and also during any postdoctoral work you may be doing. Now we're going to start simple because when your loans come due, in general, you've got two options. You can postpone your payments. That's done with a deferment or a forbearance. Or option number two is to start actively paying your student loans back. Choose a repayment plan that's going to help you meet those repayment objectives that we just talked about. And some of those repayment options include income-related repayment plans that are pretty popular with health sciences graduates. A word about your options in a residency or postdoctoral program. The key is going to be, if you're doing postdoctoral work, special education programs, the key is going to be your enrollment status. There are some postdoctoral programs where you may actually pay tuition and you are shown as an enrolled student. If that's the case, you likely should be able to apply on your federal loans for an in-school deferment. Now remember, interest continues to accrue on unsub loans during deferment. But again, if you're doing a postdoc program where you are going to be enrolled, you should be able to apply for or qualify for an in-school deferment. And we would simply encourage you to check with your program director or designated program official in terms of how they have your program listed. If you are in a residency program where you are listed as an employee and you receive a stipend, similar to what would be the case with some of your colleagues in osteopathic and allopathic medicine, you likely will not qualify for a deferment, but you would be able to apply to postpone your payments through what is called a forbearance. And there are a number of different options available to you there. As an employee and in a residency program employee, you may decide that you want to enter repayment, perhaps with an income-related plan. So once again, if you're doing postdoctoral work, one of the keys for you is going to be how your status is listed. Are you enrolled or are you actually an employee receiving a stipend? A few more comments on that, and I've already referenced some of this. A deferment is preferable to a forbearance. It's difficult to get in a residency program, again, unless you're enrolled, but deferment is preferable because the taxpayers will pay the interest for you on subsidized loans during a period of deferment. And some of you may be considering fellowship programs, and if that's the case, you may want to qualify or apply for what's called a graduate fellowship deferment. But the other way to postpone payments is with a forbearance. And if you either don't qualify for deferment or you've used up all your eligibility, or forbearance does allow you to postpone payments, and by the way, guys, with either deferment or forbearance, you remain in good standing, so no concerns there. One of the downsides of forbearance is that interest accrues on all different kinds of loans that you have, and if you try to postpone payment on a private loan with forbearance, there may be a fee. So just remember, there are ways to postpone payments on your federal student loans and sometimes on private as well. Deferment is preferable, but that's difficult to get in postdoctoral work unless you show as an enrolled student. Now, if you're in the camp, and again, many of you will be, where when you graduate, you want to start repaying your loans, these are some of the options that your loan servicer will give you on your federal loans. And guys, here's the way it works. About 30 to 45 days prior to the expiration of your grace period or your post-enrollment deferment period, 30 to 45 days before your loans come due, you should be getting a notice from your loan servicer indicating that you have the option to postpone or to pay, and they're going to list these different repayment options for you. These are on federal, Stafford, Grad Plus, and consolidation loans. The standard plan is a 10-year plan on unconsolidated loans, 30 years on consolidation loans. And if you just ignore the notice from your loan servicer and you don't choose the plan, you will be put in a standard repayment plan. That may be the one that you want, and it is the one. The 10-year plan is the one where you can pay your loan off faster, but your payments are going to be a bit higher under that plan. There's also a graduated plan where your payments start low and increase over time. I'm going to come back to the income-related plans in a moment. There's also an extended 25-year plan. for unconsolidated loans where the payment term is spread out over 25 years and your payments drop pretty dramatically. We're going to look at some repayment numbers here in just a moment. But look at that third bullet. Some of you, whether you're in a residency program as an employee earning a stipend, or whether you are actually in a practice, but perhaps you have high debt and you want to get after your loans and you can't afford a standard or graduated or even an extended 25-year plan, some of you will want to enter a repayment plan that's tied to your income. And so be aware of the income-based repayment plan called IBR, and also the new pay-as-you-earn plan. And your financial aid office has got details on these plans and can refer you to some great links and websites to help you. Here is an example of a sample repayment for a graduate from the class of 2011. We're using, in these numbers, we're using the mean debt for the class of 2011 of just over $203,000. And without running all the different repayment examples, we wanted to see or show you an example of what some of the repayment might look like. On a standard 10-year plan, you see with this level of debt, a monthly payment of around $2,700 over the period of 10 years, and you can see the total repayment cost there. For a borrower who took that same portfolio, $203,000, and extended it out over 25 years, notice that the payment drops dramatically, but the total repayment cost goes way up. But folks, remember what I said when we first started this workshop. There's never a penalty for paying a loan early. Some of you may get in a standard 10-year repayment plan and pay your loan off in 7 years, 8 years, a shorter period of time. Some of you may initially get in a 25-year plan because you need a lower monthly payment because you've got other obligations. Again, maybe you're trying to qualify for a mortgage, or you've got a car payment to pay down or consumer debt to get rid of, but you have no intention of hanging on to the loan for 25 years, and you accelerate your payments. If that's the case, you would not pay that $505,000. So just remember that regardless of what plan you get into with federal loans, you can always overpay with no penalty. Just work very closely with your loan servicer in that regard. One more comment about aggressive repayment. If you have different loans in your portfolio at different rates, for example, you have Stafford at 6.8 and you have some Grad Plus loans, perhaps at the 7.9%, that's the rate for direct Grad Plus. Maybe you have some of the older Grad Plus loans that were taken out from a private lender at 8.5%. Remember that anytime you overpay, you can contact your loan servicer and request that the extra money be targeted on your most expensive loan. And that's simply a common sense way of trying to get the best bang for your buck. So regardless of which repayment plan you get in, if you decide to overpay at some point, contact your loan servicer and try to be sure that that extra payment is going on the most expensive loan. Now, I've referenced here some key components of some of the repayment strategies for dental school graduates. This is not intended to promote the use of income-related plans or consolidation or even the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. But over the past few years, these plans, income-related plans and consolidation and the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, these tend to be the buzzwords and things that a lot of graduates are talking about. And so we want to be sure that you are at least familiar with these terms. We looked at different repayment options and the standard, graduated, and extended plans. But remember, if those don't work for you, but you do want to start paying on your loans, whether you're a resident with a stipend and you just don't have enough income for those other plans, or perhaps you're already in a dental practice, but you just have really high debt and your salary is not quite high enough for those other plans, you may want to consider an income-related plan such as IBR or pay-as-you-earn, at least for the first few years. Consolidation is a debt management tool that helps get all your loans in one place and may help you maximize your potential eligibility for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. And again, there are many resources to help you with this, but a reminder, Consolidation lets you convert loans that are not direct into the direct loan program, because a reminder that only direct loans qualify for public service loan forgiveness. And then the public service loan forgiveness program itself, this is a program, your loans aren't paid, but this is a program that offers for the loan balance to be forgiven on your direct loans after a period of 120 payments or 10 years in exchange for public service work. And public service work is also defined as work at nonprofits. So these are three components of strategy, of a repayment strategy you may want to pay special attention to: income-related plans, consolidation, and the public service loan forgiveness program. Many more details on these that you can get from your financial aid office. We're not going to get into too much of the weeds on these programs in this workshop. So the very last thing, know what you borrowed, who's got your loans, when they come due, what kind of repayment objective do you have, and how can you take these different repayment options we just looked at to help you meet those objectives. After you do all that, we would encourage you again to talk to your colleagues. What did they do right? You know, what do they feel like they really did right in terms of their repayment decisions? And are there some things that they wish they'd done a bit different? And I'd encourage you, because of the work that I do with recent graduates, I would encourage you to talk with them about their experience in working with loan servicers and the importance of documentation and noting who you spoke to and when you called and what you were told. So talk to your colleagues about their repayment strategies and what might have worked for them. So as we wind down this particular presentation on repayment strategies and all this information, what should you really be doing now? Well, again, do an inventory of all your loans. And with your federal loans, pretty easy to do with NSLDS. And on private loans, you've got other ways to do that as well. Identify the servicer. Who has your loans and when are they coming due? And be sure your servicer updates your records and has updated information on you. I say this very respectfully to others and to your family and all, but when you're working with your loan servicer, be sure they have your address and that the information they mail comes to you. These are your loans, and very important that the information is sent to you. So be sure they have updated information. Be sure to identify your repayment objectives, and that, guys, is an ongoing thing. Now, take a good look at that every year. We'd encourage you to run some estimated repayment numbers under all the different repayment options. There are many calculators that the financial aid office can help you, can direct you to, which will help you do that. They're easy to use. There's no reason you should be surprised by the numbers on any of the repayment stuff you get from your loan servicer. Know ahead of time what's going to be coming. And again, work with the financial aid office to use all the available resources to help you. So on behalf of the American Dental Education Association, we're just, again, delighted that you participated in the 2013 ADEA Online Career Fair for dental students, and we wish you nothing but the best as you craft together a repayment strategy for your student loans.